Man About the House has conquered millions of viewers with its hearty laughs. But behind the halo of the screen are the real-life tragedies of the talented cast. From broken marriages, struggles with addiction, to sudden deaths, their lives contain secrets that shock fans. Let's explore the tearful journeys of the deceased stars and pay tribute to the legacies they left behind. Let's get started. Utha Joyce as Mildred Roper. Utha Joyce, full name Utha Joyce Needham, was born on 20 August 1927 and played the sharp-witted and ambitious Mildred Roper in the sitcom Man About the House, 1973 to 1976, when she was 46. The role established Joyce as a British television icon with her wry and sophisticated sense of humor alongside Brian Murphy. Not stopping there, she continued to bring Mildred back in the spin-off, George and Mildred, 1976-1979, conquering the audience with the image of a wife who always aspired to rise up. However, behind the halo, Utha Joyce's life was full of pain and tension. Growing up in an artistic family, she was judged by her parents as untalented, forcing her to bravely overcome their contempt to pursue an acting career. A seemingly peaceful marriage to actor Glyn Edwards quickly collapsed, plunging Joyce into a period of depression and loneliness that added to her stress. The insecurity of being forever associated with the image of Mildred, combined with the constant public scrutiny, drove her into despair, while her passion for acting remained, flaring up in a gruesome villain role in Fanatic, 1965, and in Tragic Shades in Our Mother's House, 1967. As the years passed, the fear of unemployment and the feeling of being stuck in a certain role drove Joyce deeper into alcoholism, with reports revealing that she drank up to half a bottle of brandy a day for decades. The failed relationships that followed her divorce only exacerbated her depression, until she herself became a victim of the beloved, hopeless Mildred. She believed that each role would be her last, and the anxiety tormented her, leading to countless nights of drinking and facing the darkness alone. By the summer of 1980, after completing the film adaptation of George and Mildred, Joyce's health had collapsed. Her liver was severely damaged. Her lungs and heart were failing, leading to acute liver failure, and she died just 4 days after her 53rd birthday. She was cremated at Golders Green Crematorium, her ashes scattered among crocuses, bringing a tragic end to her life. Joyce left behind an estimated net worth of around $500,000, a modest sum considering her extraordinary talent. Brian Murphy as George Roper. Brian Trevor. John Murphy, born 25 September 1932, made a strong impression when he played George Roper, a bumbling, simple-minded husband, easily dominated by his wife but full of comic charm, in the series Man About the House, 1973 to 1976, when he was 41 years old. With his natural, approachable acting style, he made George a part of British television history. Brian then went on to play George in the spin-off George and Mildred, which entertained audiences for years. However, alongside the laughs on screen, his life was filled with unspoken worries and losses. Brian's childhood was haunted by the pain of losing 2 older brothers in World War II, a tragedy that left him feeling empty and insecure as he grew older. Starting his career with small, low-paid stage jobs, he struggled to make ends meet and at times thought of giving up acting to sell insurance. It was only a surprise role in Alcock and Gander, 1972, that opened a way out, although the daily burden of making a living still haunted him, causing sleepless nights with the fear of losing his career and not being able to provide for his family. Marriage did not bring Brian a peaceful shore either. His first relationship with Carol Gibson, which lasted more than 2 decades, ended in the 1980s, leaving him with lingering doubts and deep loneliness. The pain was compounded when his co-star and on-set soulmate Eutha Joyce died suddenly in 1980 from alcoholism. Brian struggled to recover before finding his faith again with his second wife, Linda Reagan, and gradually made a name for himself with the film Last of the Summer Wine, 2003-2010, although his heart still bore many silent scars. In his later years, even in his 90s, Brian continued to passionately pursue his acting career and was preparing to appear in a film with his wife in mid-2025 when he was suddenly diagnosed with bone cancer. Just 3 weeks later, he passed away on February 2nd, 2025, at the age of 92. Brian Murphy is estimated to have left behind a net worth of around $2 million, a worthy figure for a long and enduring career. Doug Fisher as Larry Simmons. Douglas Marjorie Banks Fisher was born on 20th September 1941 in London and made a strong impression when he played Larry Simmons, the humorous, cheerful, and somewhat mischievous neighbor in the sitcom Man About the House, 1973 to 1976, when he was 32 years old. Throughout 27 episodes, Doug Fisher made Larry an indispensable part of the legendary trio alongside Robin and Chrissy, leaving an indelible mark on the audience. Fisher's humorous and generous role as Larry received much praise in the history of British sitcoms during the 1970s. But behind the laughter, Doug Fisher's life was full of turmoil and suffering. Coming from a background without formal training in drama, he always had to try his best to prove himself, which made him put his career above his family. Both of Fisher's marriages ended in bitterness, leaving cracks in his relationship with his children and causing him to carry a heavy sense of guilt that lasted for years. Although he found another chance at success with his role as Jim Medhurst in London's Burning, 1988 to 1993, he was unable to find the warmth of a family, gradually becoming lonely and withdrawn from the limelight. The heavy workload and the haunting memories of his failed marriages took their toll on Fisher's health, causing his heart to weaken severely. In his later years, although he continued to take on supporting roles in television series such as Jonathan Creek, 1997, he always seemed tired and cynical, no longer believing in personal happiness. He once said that the spotlight was only temporary, but that loneliness was what really stuck with him. On July 9, 2000, Doug Fisher died of a heart attack at the age of 58, ending a life full of ups and downs. His estimated net worth at the time of his death was only about $300,000, a modest figure compared to the beloved roles he played. Dennis Waterman as Frank Wasserman. Dennis Waterman, born 24th of February 1948, made his mark even with his brief guest appearance as Frank Wasserman in the 1974 episode Did You Ever Meet Rommel of Man About the House, when he was 26 years old. He appeared in the series after being famous for his powerful, heroic roles in The Sweeney and Minder, where he also performed the theme songs, becoming a pop culture icon. Waterman's powerfully charismatic image has resonated with generations of British audiences for decades, but outside the spotlight, Dennis's life was turbulent. He had 4 marriages, most notably to actress Patricia Maynard, the mother of his 2 daughters, including Hannah Waterman, which ended bitterly due to conflicts and distance. His relationship with his children also became strained, as Waterman devoted almost all of his energy to his career, neglecting his family and leaving behind wounds that were difficult to heal. His subsequent marriage to Rula Lenska collapsed amid allegations of violence and public scandal. Alongside his successful career, Dennis struggled with alcoholism, which led to a driving ban and a reputation as a rebellious, unruly artist. The pressures of fame, failed marriages, and constant drinking dragged him into scandal, although he managed to bounce back and shine with new tricks from 2003 to 2014. These efforts demonstrated his extraordinary endurance, but they could not erase the series of controversies that followed him throughout his career. Dennis Waterman died of lung cancer on May 8, 2022, in Spain, at the age of 74. His net worth is estimated at $5 million, worthy of more than 60 years of dedication to the arts. Daphne Oxenford, as Chrissy's mother, Daphne Margaret de Gravel Oxenford, was born on 30th October in North Finchley, and made her small screen debut as Chrissy's mother, Mrs. Plummer, in the 1973 sitcom Man About the House, aged 54. Although she only appeared in 3 episodes, the role left its mark as a strong, somewhat stern but loving mother. Daphne's voice became very familiar to audiences on the radio show Listen with Mother, and now continues to conquer television audiences with her natural, subtle acting. However, her personal life was still filled with lingering pain. As a young woman, Daphne lost her first love in a tragic car accident, leaving a void that could never be filled. Although she later married and had 2 daughters, the pain of that loss haunted her for decades, causing Daphne to often keep an emotional distance from those around her. Afraid that she would suffer again, she found solace in art, devoting decades of her life to the BBC and the theater, but rarely spoke openly about her trauma. In her later years, Daphne faced loneliness when her husband, David Marshall, died in 2003, after more than half a century of marriage. She moved into Denville Hall, a nursing home for artists, where her health gradually declined due to age and chronic illness. Despite this, she still tries to keep in touch with her former colleagues, occasionally reading books and reminiscing about her glory days on Coronation Street or The Children of Green Knowe, works that earned her great respect from audiences. Daphne Oxenford died of natural causes on December 21, 2012, at the age of 93. Her net worth is estimated at $400,000, a modest figure, but a true reflection of a life devoted to the arts. Jeremy Bulloch as Derek Sutton Jeremy. Andrew Bulloch was born on February 16, 1945, and appeared in Man About the House in 1974 when he was 29 years old. As Derek Sutton, a gentle and polite supporting character who added a touch of gentleness to the lively atmosphere of the sitcom. Although it was only a brief role, Bulloch left an impression with his charm and acting skills before becoming internationally famous as Boba Fett in Star Wars. In his personal life, Bulloch carried deep emotional wounds that were difficult to heal. His first marriage fell apart, leaving him feeling empty, while the sudden death of his brother brought on a deep sense of sadness and guilt. Behind his friendly public smile, Bulloch was torn between his career and personal loss, especially being separated from his son during the breakup. After the huge success of The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, Bulloch continued to take on smaller projects such as Robin of Sherwood, maintaining his passion for acting, but his health began to fail. He later struggled with Parkinson's disease, which caused tremors and gradually stripped him of his independence, a severe challenge for someone who once prided himself on his strong on-screen persona. The pressure to maintain the Boba Fett image for fans only added to his stress. Jeremy Bulloch passed away on December 17, 2020, at the age of 75 on the morning of the Star Wars community around the world. He leaves behind an estimated net worth of $2 million, the result of a 6-decade career filled with ups and downs and dedication. Roy Kinnear as Jerry Roy Mitchell. Kinnear was born on 8 January 1934 and made his small screen debut in Man About the House in 1974, aged 40, as Jerry, a humorous, sharp-tongued supporting character who often provided the laughs during the show's tense moments. Despite his infrequent appearances, Kinnear's Jerry made an impression with his charismatic performance and his chemistry with the main cast, cementing his reputation in British comedy. Behind the affable on-screen persona, Roy Kinnear was under great pressure as his career became increasingly demanding, leading to frequent family tensions. His marriage to Carmel Cryan was stable but challenging, especially as they spent much of their time caring for their severely disabled daughter. He constantly struggled with his responsibilities as a father and husband, and the demanding demands of the entertainment industry, often leaving him exhausted and estranged from his loved ones. Despite these personal stresses, Kinnear continued to thrive in his career, appearing regularly in major projects such as Willy Wonka and The Chocolate Factory, 1971, and the Three Musketeers film series, 1973. However, the hectic filming schedule led to a tragic disaster when Roy fell off a horse and was seriously injured during the production of the sequel to The Three Musketeers in Spain in 1988. The aftermath of the accident claimed his life just one day later, ending his artistic journey at the age of 54. Roy Kinnear left behind a net worth of approximately $1 million, reflecting a long and prolific film and television career, but also one that included great sacrifices. The day he passed away was a huge shock to his fans, because his talent and humor are still considered an extremely valuable legacy, and he is deeply missed by the public who loved him. Bella Emberg as traffic cop. Bella Emberg, born Sybil Dyke on September 16, 1937, and appearing in Man About the House in 1974 at the age of 37, played the traffic cop, a small role that still brought laughter and charm to the audience. In the series, Emberg's traffic cop was a strict, law-abiding character, but still full of humor, adding to the show's characteristically light-hearted tone. In real life, Bella Emberg has had her fair share of heartache. She has had multiple failed relationships, never married, and has suffered from a persistent loneliness that she rarely shares publicly. With no formal acting training, Emberg struggled to prove her worth in a cutthroat industry, constantly having to prove herself worthy of roles. Feelings of alienation and pressure from her career sometimes pushed her into a mental breakdown. However, Bella bravely pursued her passion for acting, leaving her mark on popular comedy shows such as The Russ Abbott Show, 1980 to 1996, and Bear Behaving Badly, 2008-2010. But behind the spotlight, her health gradually declined, along with emotional struggles that she tried to hide. A career spanning 6 decades could not fill the emotional void, leaving Emberg immersed in lingering regrets and reflections. She died suddenly on January 12, 2018, at the age of 80, of alcohol poisoning, shocking the public. Her estimated net worth was around $300,000, reflecting her enduring career but limited finances. Peter Jones as Mr. Morrison. Peter Jeffrey Francis Jones was born on June 12, 1920, and appeared in Man About the House in 1975 at the age of 55, as Mr. Morrison, a supporting character who brought charm, courtesy, and a touch of irony to the popular comedy. With extensive experience on stage and radio, Jones skillfully created a Mr. Morrison who was both stiff and very likable, providing humor to the chaotic apartment scene. Although he was loved by the audience for his distinctive voice and natural acting, Jones's personal life was filled with loneliness. Growing up without a father, he was forced to learn to be independent from a young age, but it also left an emotional void that was difficult to fill. After getting married, his married life was not without its ups and downs, eventually ending in divorce and leaving many regrets. Jones also suffered the shock of losing his lifelong friend, a trauma that would have a profound impact on his mental health in his later years. Although he continued to perform in popular radio roles such as The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, his health gradually declined, forcing him to battle leukemia and heart disease, while his loneliness grew with age. Peter Jones died in 2000, aged 79, from complications of sepsis following surgery. His net worth at the time of his death was around $400,000, a modest figure compared to the enormous artistic legacy he left behind. a testament to a career full of effort, but also quiet and marked by much pain throughout his life. Ian Lavender as Mark. Arthur Ian Lavender was born on February 16, 1946. He had a memorable role in Man About the House in 1974 when he was only 28 years old. In this episode, he plays Mark, an ambitious young actor, somewhat arrogant and obsessed with building his own image, bringing humor and satire to the already noisy and complicated life of the apartment complex. The character Mark cleverly reflects the artistic illusions of the youth of that time through Lavender's natural and sharp acting. Besides the halo, Lavender also experienced persistent difficulties in her career. Despite being the golden boy of his father's army, he struggled with low self-esteem when his later roles failed to achieve the same success. Years of trying to find his place in a cutthroat industry left him exhausted and insecure, leaving Lavender constantly struggling to maintain faith in his talent. Outside of the pressures of work, Lavender's personal life was relatively uneventful, but not without its scars. 2 marriages, one in divorce, one ultimately happy, along with fatherhood, forced him to learn to balance fame and family obligations. He also battled bladder cancer and a heart attack, which made Lavender appreciate the years he was able to stand on stage and connect with audiences. Ian Lavender passed away on February 2, 2024, at the age of 77, reportedly from natural causes. His estimated net worth at the time was around $1 million, reflecting a long and dedicated career, although he was never truly wealthy. Duncan Lamont, as Dr. MacLeod Duncan William Ferguson, Lamont was born on June 17, 1918. He first appeared in Man About the House in 1973, at the age of 55, as Dr. MacLeod, a sharp-witted but compassionate doctor who brought some quiet and human moments to this comedy. Although his appearance was brief, Dr. MacLeod left an impression on the audience thanks to the calm, profound character that Lamont skillfully portrayed. Behind the scenes, Duncan Lamont had to face a lot of pain. 2 failed marriages, both of which ended in tension and distance, left him with little faith in family happiness. His relationship with Alexander was also severely affected when his only son fell into drug addiction, leaving a void and a sense of helplessness that Lamont never quite got over. Those psychological wounds haunted him for years, gradually weakening his health, especially as his heart problems continued to recur. Although he continued to work on film and stage, Lamont became increasingly exhausted both mentally and physically. His sudden death from a heart attack in 1978 brought an end to a brilliant but lonely career. Duncan Lamont's net worth at the time of his death was estimated at $200,000, a modest sum considering his fame and contributions. The figure is a sad reminder that despite his heights, he could not buy peace of mind, leaving behind a remarkable cinematic legacy, but also one filled with lingering regret and grief. Hilda Braid as Mrs. Holland. Hilda Braid was born on the 3rd March 1929 and joined Man About the House in 1976, aged 47, as Mrs. Holland, a brief supporting character who brought a profound, stern, and charming older woman to the chaotic life of the tenement. With a background in RADA and a strong stage background, Braid skillfully brought the character to life with realism and vibrancy, winning the hearts of audiences despite her limited screen time. Hilda Braid was a strong woman on stage and screen, but behind that was a deep wound. Her father's early death left her with constant anxiety and a vulnerable heart. Her marriage to actor Brian Badco later fell apart, leaving her to shoulder the burden of raising her children alone, while also managing a strained relationship with her daughter, Caroline. The pain did not stop there. When her younger brother died in the early 1990s, a blow that took Braid years to recover from. Although she continued to give her all through numerous television roles, notably as Nana Moon in EastEnders, Her health and memory began to fail, leading to inevitable setbacks in her career. In her later years, Alzheimer's disease seemed to plunge her into even deeper loneliness and loss. Braid died in 2007 at the age of 78, after a long illness in a nursing home. At the time of her death, she left behind an estimated net worth of $200,000, a modest sum given a long and dedicated artistic journey that brought with it both joy and pain in the resilient heart of an artist.